Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 60 of Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. I am your host, Professor Jeremy Vilmer, and when I'm not cooking my grandson ham and eggs for breakfast, I am hosting this show with my co-host and star of the show, Bobby Blaze. What's happening, Bobby?
Hey, Professor, I'll tell you what's happening, man. It's been cold as a horse heart out here in Kentucky, and I ought to know because I live with enough of them. Excuse me a second. Hey, Melody. Get your shoes on and get your ass off the futon and go out there and make us some money. Better yet, just lay it on your back and make us some money because this fucking heating bill ain't going to pay for itself, honey. That's all I got to say.
Oh, man.
At least at this point, man. It's been cold, man.
Yeah,
but other than that, we're doing good.
Yeah, we haven't gotten cold here yet. We've been like at the lowest in the 50s, but we went from 90s to 50s in like 2 weeks. It's not that cold, but comparatively, it's cold, you know.
Right. Yeah. It drops that much for sure, man.
Central California, our temperatures are weird here, you know. So, Bobby, what are we talking about today?
Oh, man, we're talking about why we love Bobby Heenan, man. This is going to be a fun topic, I can tell you already. I watched some stuff. I'm sure you have. Text sent us some stuff, just the stuff that Bobby Heenan. Let me just go on and say this, okay? We had one of our earlier episodes was Greatest Managers of All Time. And that program, you told me then that you thought Bobby the Brain Heenan was the greatest manager of all time. And we went off that program for a little bit of heat, probably a little bit of worked heat because I said someone else was, and we had fun with it. But I'm just going to say right now, if the professor says it, Pat Patterson says it, Jim Cornette says it, J.J. Dillon says it, if all these other great people say it, we might as well go ahead and admit it. Bobby the Brain Heenan was the greatest manager of all time. So I'll just start us off with that right there. That way no one can go back and say, Bobby, you know, you said before Cornette was. Well, yeah, in a sense it was because that was our program at the time to end our program at the time. But we all knew at that time where I was going with it, as did the professor, correct?
Yes. I mean, you know, kayfabe and whatnot all set aside for the moment. But yeah. I was asked this week if we had ever done that, and I told him, I was like, it was a guy I work with who listens to the show. I'm like, yep, one of our earliest episodes. I go, but it does end in an argument. So
yeah, that was a good way to end that program. You know,
it really was.
So, which brings us around to today's topic, which is Bobby the Brain Heenan, man. So you got any shout outs or anything?
Oh, you know, this week I am actually woefully unprepared for shout outs. The only thing I really want to talk about is an honorable mention again. So,
well, I have two shout outs if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real quickly, I got one at Travis Heckle I just like this tweet. He's at Memphis Wrestling. He does the artwork for Jim Cornette's show, but he had one tweet the other day that said, just kind of regards to like all the wrestling. We was talking about what a great time it is to be a wrestling fan right now. But he had this one tweet, and I don't get caught up in all that other stuff where, you know, you like this promotion, you don't like that promotion, this and that. But he said something like, just because you like going out to eat doesn't mean you have to support all the restaurants. If it's a crappy place, it's a crappy place. So you know what? If you don't like some kind of, you know, particular wrestling, don't watch it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to just because you love wrestling, watch what you love because it is such a good time to be a pro wrestling fan. And I thought that was pretty good. If it's crappy, it's crappy. You know, if it's good, it's good. You know it. So you support what you want to as a wrestling fan. The other one, real quickly, a fan of the show, Chad, that is on Twitter at ChadWB. I'm assuming that's West Virginia because that's where he's from. He's a good guy, good fan of the show. He sent us a picture, him and Bobby Heenan, rather, at one of Bobby's last appearances, apparently. He had some merchandise and souvenir items signed by Bobby Heenan. And he sent us a real nice picture there to the Bell to Bell Blaze podcast Twitter page and also to me. And I thought that was pretty cool. So shout out to Chad there for getting that up for us. We appreciate all of our fans supporting the show like they do. So that's my shout outs right there, man.
Yeah, those are all good ones. As far as the, you know, shitting on one promotion or whatever, I mean, yeah, guys, you've heard me shit on the WWF, but only because it was the only game in town for so long that it was easy for me to hate on it. There are still good people working there. There are still wrestlers I'm sure I would find enjoyable. I just don't do it. And and what I'm really excited about right now is there's choices out there on top of the small promotions we were all watching because that was the only alternative for a long time. You know, you've got AEW, you've got the NWA, you've got New Japan is opening their North American promotion. You've still got all the small guys. ROH, I'm a little bit befuddled by what's happening there right now though, because a promotion that has made their bones by getting over their own local, you know, talent, their new guys, they are having a hard time adjusting to the loss of the Elite. they're having a hard time with it. And I don't get why they're stumbling around so much.
I don't know. I just know it's a good time to be a wrestling fan.
That's probably the best time in 30 years, you know.
Yeah, what we was talking about.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, with all that being said, Bobby, let's pay some bills real quick here, and then we will get on with talking about Bobby Heenan.
Tell you what, let's do this. The other day, November 1st, was National Literacy Day, so we'll plug my books right here at the top, and that's with Pin Me, Pay Me. If you want to help support the program, all you have to do is type in tinyurl.com/BlazeBook1. That'll get you Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots Will Travel. Also, if you want to get book 2, it's called I Kicked Out on 2, The Educational Wrestler. That is at tinyurl.com/BlazeBook2. Look here, if we mention one of these books or one of the affiliate links on our program, the show could receive a small commission, which we're hoping for. That is if you make a purchase. Again, there's no additional cost to you. And it helps us continue to bring you this podcast each and every week or each and every other week, depending on our schedules. But anyway, hit my books up at Pin Me, Pay Me at tinyurl.com/BlazeBook1. Or I Kicked Out on 2, The Educational Wrestler at tinyurl.com/BlazeBook2. And I believe you got a book here by Bobby Heenan. Is that correct?
So hang on.
Okay. It's tinyurl.com/BB Heenan is where you can get that book at.
That book is called Bobby the Brain, Wrestling's Bad Boy Tells All.
Okay, there you go. Sounds interesting.
Yep.
tinyurl.com/BB Heenan. And that's all you have to do, folks, is hit us up with that. It's always, even though I think September is National Literacy Month, like I said, November 1st was National Literacy Day. Jeremy and I was talking off the air just a few minutes about reading, the importance of reading to children and grandchildren, those, just reading in general. It's a good thing. So, you don't have to start with my books. You can start with an, C-Spot Run book or a comic book if you want. But I imagine if you're listening to this program, you'll want to get Bobby Heenan's book or you want to get one of my books. And again, that's at tinyurl.com/BlazeBook1 or tinyurl.com/BlazeBook2.
Read a lot of Westerns still when I get an opportunity. And you think about the era when that took place, right after the Civil War. I think American literacy was like 30% at the time. We're at almost 100% now. Take advantage of it, people. Don't let us backslide into a time when nobody could read. Real quickly here, I did want to point this out, and I meant to bring it up earlier. I noticed that if you do watch AEW, there was a title match contract signing between Chris Jericho and Cody this week.
Okay.
Apparently 2001's Young Lion Chris Jericho is the guy who showed up. He's got his long hair back, clean shaven. He looks like he did in his WCW days, except, a little softer around the middle.
Okay, yeah. And I know that AEW was here in the tri-state area. They was in Charleston, West Virginia, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania last weekend. I know several guys that got to go. I haven't talked to any of them. I've seen a couple of their tweets. I did talk to a couple of guys who were actually there, but I haven't talked to them specifically about the show yet. Okay, so I'm pretty sure though they had a really good show. I know it's supposed to be sold out. I did hear that at Charleston. That's one of the first sellouts. I think WCW may have sold it out for a sold out show way back in, maybe 98 or 99. I know I was there on a show. It was a sellout before. That's probably when the old NWA was there with Ricky and Robert and the Russians and Road Warriors and, Dusty and all them on top prior to that. So that's good to have it back, have them coming back to these areas and drawing a crowd like that. I didn't go and I haven't seen the new and improved older aged Jericho. However you want to word that.
It was just kind of funny to see that because when we walked out, I was just like, wait a minute. What year is this? Well, let's go ahead and get rolling here. Bobby Heenan was born Raymond Lewis Heenan in Chicago, Illinois in 1944. He dropped out of school in the 8th grade to support his mother and grandmother. He was a fan of wrestling, having grown up in Chicago and Indianapolis. He started working in the professional wrestling industry, just like everybody else we hear about, carrying bags, selling concessions, blah, 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 and use that to parlay into a awesome wrestling career. Bobby retired in 2001, and he passed away on September 17th, 2017. Bobby's time in wrestling, he started with the WWA, went to the AWA, left there for Georgia Championship Wrestling, went back to the AWA, then he left for the WWF with the mass excursion of Mean Gene, Hulk Hogan, Dr. D. David Schultz. He went from the WWF as a manager, transitioned into a color commentary position, and then took that and went to WCW, which I believe, outside of some indies and reappearances in the WWE, that would be the end of his career, would on the large scale would be WCW.
And I had the pleasure of meeting Bobby Heenan. First of all, this to me is an honor. I'm one of the guys he called a ham and egger. I was out there against Roddy Piper, and I think he said, "Look at this ham and egger." I don't know, but when he announced my name as Bobby Smedley, he said, "How would you like to go through life with that moniker?" So I didn't meet him that particular night or a set of tapings. I did about 6 or 8 of them back in the day. Many years later, I was WCW, and the very first pay-per-view I did was one of the World War III's, and I was up in Detroit, Auburn Hills area. The production meeting was at one of the bigger hotels. I honestly can't remember which one it was, but it wasn't the one I was staying at, because I was probably over there with Melanie at the fucking Days Inn or somewhere.
Sure.
Who knows, but I was somewhere down the street and drove out there, and I got there early. The bar is right when you walked in, and there's Bobby Heenan. Even though I'd been there probably about a month, I hadn't met him yet. I had only done a TV taping at Disney, and I walked in and sit down and talk to him just a few minutes, and he was very, very pleasant gentleman, and he was always very kind to me, and always quick-witted, of course, and we probably spent about 20 minutes before other guys started coming in. Of course, he's going to go with the announcers and guys he knew, and of course I'm going to go with guys I knew. But I did get to one last time in around 2005 or 2006. He was on a show. I knew a guy from Tampa named Lionel who went national. He had a Tampa show, but then went national in New York. And one night I was listening, and he had Bobby the Brain Heenan on there. And man, I called in, and they took my call because Lionel had remembered me. And of course, I think Bobby was just got sick or was in remission at the time. But we got to speak for about 5 minutes on a talk show, and it was nice to be remembered. But it was more nicer for me to just to get to talk to him and tell him, wish him the best of luck and this and that. Of course, they ribbed on me because Lionel, that was his thing back in the day when I'd call into Tampa. He'd rib on my accent and this and that. So here I was in this just a fan calling in to talk to Bobby the Brain, and they ribbed on me. And how you got to like that because I'm nothing but a ham and egger, Bobby. So I just want to share those two personal stories with you, kind of set the tone for the show. But man, just probably one of the quickest wits. There's so many words, people, funny, sarcastic, man, I mean, just a great talker, so,
yeah.
We should have fun with this program, man.
I always wonder, and I know Roddy Piper did this. Roddy Piper carried around books of puns and one-liners and constantly read through them. He read that like Bockwinkel read the dictionary. I always wondered if Heenan must have done that because he had a joke or something for every situation that came up. And you can only do that by having stock jokes that you have memorized that you can take apart and reuse at a moment's notice.
Yeah, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised, man, because he, with that wit and the sarcasm, he wasn't lacking for words for anything that came up. He had a comeback for it. You weren't going to, if it was a battle of the wits, you was going to be a handicap. He could just riff. I don't know if he done that, but he must have locked those jokes in his mind somewhere to get them off like he did. Because Bockwinkel called him the greatest worker of all time, man, talking about how over he was, getting heat and the quick witticisms and comebacks and all those things. Greatest talker of all time. There you go. So how can you, that's a good question. He probably had something he had studied or done, through the years. Maybe it's just him because he understood entertainment. He understood all aspects of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I did use that E word.
Well, yeah, but that's a little bit different, though. That's not trying to take,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's not trying to take wrestling and make it something it's not.
Right.
That is just adding a little shine to the product as it is. One of the things I wanted to say before we get to our list is, out of all the things I really appreciate about Bobby Heenan was his sense of fashion. So everybody go to your closet, get your sequin black jumpsuits out, and sit down and let's talk about Bobby Heenan.
There you go. All right, I'm glad you brought that up because that wasn't on our list. So I will give that your honorable mention, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, that's a good one to start us off with. Number 10 reasons why we love Bobby the Brain Heenan, and that is, now I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Jeremy, but it's Rosada sisters.
I believe it's Rosati.
Rosati.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Nurse Rosetta, like I said from the Alice Cooper song over there from the inside. But Heenan was always hysterical about the girls with notable girth, and they did several skits about it. I know he mentioned very opening of something we'll talk about here later on in our program. But so I guess that was a couple of big girls that Bobby liked to have the fun at their expense.
Yeah, they were three sisters who, if I remember right, I remember them always wearing colorful clothes, but I don't know that for a fact. It's just something that seems to be in my memory.
Yeah.
But they were big WWF fans, and they were always in the crowd. And one of them or two of them made friends with Vince McMahon somehow and started getting free tickets. And then Bobby started incorporating them into skits and bits that he did. They would co-host with him on the Bobby Heenan show. So they were worked right into the product. I don't know who spotted whose idea it was, but it was Heenan that actually elevated the bit from a simple fat joke into something else. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw one of them I saw one of the skits, and I can't remember how it was. It's just too funny to try to duplicate it. But man, no sooner she says something, one of the sisters says something, he had to come back, of course, and it was like, I think they just did the host, right, the skit ended like right there, like, I was like, where do they go from here? Of course, they took it somewhere else, but I was like, okay, I still can't pronounce the Rosada sisters.
Rosati, I believe, but
God, I can't even say it.
Yeah, I was going to say, but here at this point, what's going to happen is in 2 days, we're going to get an email from Tex telling us what we fucked up. So we'll just leave it out there.
Oh, yeah. We'll just put that there. And folks, if you're listening, we, as you know, we'll go from memory on a lot of different things. Then we'll go to each other, then we'll look stuff up and try to have some unique lists for you. So Tex sent in quite a bit of his top 10, if not all of them, and gave us some notes on this. And, because we all three love, Bobby Heenan. But last week, I guess we screwed up something. We had 3 matches incorporated, like in one match in 1980. So I guess in our memory, 3 things happened inside of, what was it, the Dusty Rhodes and the Ric Flair and Ole, the angle of Foley in the cage in 1980. And we put about 3 or 4 matches incorporated into one damn dream match, I guess. Yeah. But anyway, Tex called us out on it and said, hey, that's it. And Jeremy said, hey, we're going to make a mistake. That's why we like you to hit us up on our, bell to bell Blaze on Twitter and let us know, hey, man, here's an idea. Where did that come from?
Yep.
All right. We had enough of number 10. You ready to move on to number 9?
Let's go to number 9.
Number 9. Okay. The Royal Rumble of 92. Tex says, let me tell you what Tex said. He put the greatest heel commentary of all time, bar none. His desperation to be fair to Flair drove the story of the match. It got Flair's title win over, and it did it in a truly entertaining fashion. One of the best single match calls ever. And that's from Tex down in the boiler room there. He wrote that one in on number 9, the Royal Rumble of 92. What do you think, Jeremy?
So Bobby Heenan, I think, was better at getting heat on somebody, himself or somebody else, than just about anybody else. And when they put him in commentary, his ability, I love when they split commentary teams between a face play-by-play and a color heel, because then you have both of them pushing their bullshit Fox News sounding agenda, for the same match, and you see in each one of them spin it their own way, and Heenan was better at that than anybody. I don't specifically remember this match because I remember Heenan always being great when calling a Flair match.
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't remember exactly. I remember him managing Flair and helping him get over, but it's not like either one really needed help getting over. But as a heel commentator, I'm going to take Tex at his word here, that what he said was one of the single best match calls ever. So we'll go with that as number 9. Speaking of Tex, Jeremy, I'm going to jump ahead real quick here to our YouTube channel that Tex runs from down in the boiler room. We need to probably get him some coffee, a couple of sandwiches and soup down there or something. I don't know. Maybe just some water. But anyway, have you been watering him at all?
I've been sending down bread and water once every other week or so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he done a great job this week, as he always does. So on our YouTube channel, which has 6,500 subscribers right now, go to tinyurl.com/BBBB video, and you can see all the great list of top 10s that we've done in the past. Tex has taken Jeremy's voice and my voice and put them behind it, and it's come up some really good footage. As we're talking about right now, one of our earlier podcasts we did was greatest managers of all time. There's 10 of those with honorable mentions. There's most legitimate badasses in professional wrestling. That list is probably our most popular. It has a combination of out of 10 videos, it has over 660,000 views. If you want to see who we thought was some of the toughest men in professional wrestling, we also have some of the greatest commentaries on there. There's just a whole bunch of stuff on our YouTube channel. Again, that's tinyurl.com/BBBB video. Go by there, give us a like, share it. Feel free to comment and also subscribe, please. We appreciate that.
Absolutely. And we're going to be starting some original content just for YouTube as well. So, keep an eye on the page. We got some cool stuff coming up.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, that audio clip you sent me about some of the YouTube with the West Texas State, it sounded terrific, man.
Awesome.
Just that sneak peek listen. I really appreciate you sending it to me. I'm sure Tex liked it as well. Yeah, some specific YouTube stuff coming out. And Jeremy, the professor's voice, is going to be on reading a script about some things. It's really sounding good, folks. You're going to really enjoy what's coming. Believe me.
Bobby, let's go ahead and go to number 8.
Number 8. Now I had a different idea about this because I heard it differently, and then you text sent me something, and you looked it up and you corrected me. That was apparently Bobby the Brain Heenan helped Goldberg get over. So when he first come to WCW, he was the first one to really realize what they had on their hands and put him over on commentary, and it led him to being pulled from TV to launching the streak. And he refused to let any other commentator talk about anything else while Bill Goldberg was in the ring. So Goldberg. Now I know other people are responsible for that as well, but apparently the professor has went back and looked up and found out a few things that this is true. Is that correct, Professor? That
is everything I can find. I mean, I checked with a couple people just because I read that, and I do remember Bobby putting him over pretty big. You know, he would call him the Man and Superman and things like that. I remembered him putting him over, but I'd never thought that, he was the guy kind of leading the charge. But Goldberg himself, when Bobby Heenan passed away, he said, and I got to go back and find this here, he's very sad to hear of the passing of Bobby the Brain Heenan. Rest in peace, my friend. My career would not be the same without you.
Yeah.
So, I thought about it a little bit, and you know what? If you have a guy in commentary who starts pushing for somebody that nobody else is really keen to yet, because remember, Goldberg came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
The fans went for him. Well, you know what? Maybe Heenan is the one who got the fans going that direction, because my brother remembers it being Heenan that got him over.
Cool.
Bill Goldberg seems to think it was Heenan that got him over. And I'm not going to argue with Bill Goldberg.
Yeah, hell, I was victim number 67. I don't need to, at my age, I don't need to be speared out of my boots again, or in this case, my ball shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just take it at what Goldberg said, what he said.
Yeah, exactly. There's no point in doing that. I did watch you on Rob and Slim this week. Or this last week.
Okay.
Yeah, I did go back. Yeah, I missed the live show, so yeah. That was a good show. You usually do pretty good on their show.
It's a fun show to do.
Yeah.
It really is. It's laid back. It's easy because the guys, they just have some good little bits on there, and they have some really good guests on there, myself included. Thank you. And you just have fun with it, So yeah, appreciate that. I think I gave you and Tex a shout on there as well.
Oh, absolutely, you did. Yeah.
Okay, cool, good deal. Well, number 8 was Bobby Heenan getting Bill Goldberg over, helped him realize, hey, we got something here on our hands, a monster, if you will.
Yeah.
And let's put him back here. Don't let him be on TV. And when he does go on TV, help with that. By God, I'm going to get him over. And you're not going to talk about anything else when Goldberg's match is going on. Because on those TV tapings of matches, sometimes that happens. They get off on, this week on a pay-per-view or this month coming or what have you. During Goldberg's matches, they specifically spoke about what was taking place in the ring at that time, be it 30 seconds or 90 seconds or 3 minutes, however long he was out there. They concentrated and spoke only about what was taking place in the ring, and that helped establish him even more over because he was already over with the fans and stuff, but the way they portrayed it and got it over on a national, international audience at the time. So let's take us to number 7.
Well,
this was funny.
Real quick, before we jump, no problem. It was Bobby Heenan, apparently, the night that Goldberg's streak and title loss happened. He looked around at everybody else in the car with him and said, well, guys, we'll be out of a job in a year.
Yeah, I think he said something. We killed the golden goose.
That was it. That was it. We killed the golden goose.
Killed the golden goose. Yeah, I know he was very disappointed. And I'm pretty sure that was what he said to whom, I don't know, but I'm probably if who was fucking in earshot or could hear him say it, he probably let him know. And they all probably couldn't have worded it better myself.
Exactly.
So the hair was gone there out of the, killed the golden goose. Yeah, I didn't mean to talk over you there.
No,
so
no
I was just going to go on to number 7 because this one was funny as heck to me. I went back and watched this one. You want to bring it up, Jeremy, and I'll go with you on this one? Yeah,
well, number 7 was when he got fired by the WWF. He really let them lay into him in this one. I mean, he was like getting disguised and trying to sneak back into.
He came back as I think a rabbi. He came back as an old lady, dressed in as big thick makeup on, big lips painted, and glasses, and he had to get in there, and it was funny as heck. And of course, he wanted Monsoon to fire him and throw him out of the building. The idea was to make sense, and to keep it kind of kayfabe, because he's going to be in WCW in the next few weeks. Yeah, it was just really hilarious. You go back and watch that particular episode. I think someone's condensed it down on YouTube. To every time he's coming to the door, he's talking to security, and he got himself fired. Then he tries to keep coming back into the building at night, and then he's talking to Vince. He's talking to security guards. Finally, I guess Gorilla just says, enough of this. And this day, he's gone.
Well, because he throws him and his luggage out, right? I mean, it's like he throws everything out of the building.
Oh,
right? Yeah. And see, there's that thing. Bobby knew that if it looked logical, there wouldn't be a ton of questions and stupid shit when he showed up on a different show in a month.
Yeah.
It would be a natural progression.
That's good stuff, man. Getting himself fired from WWE.
Yeah, and apparently it was his idea. He was the one who pushed that him getting fired in that way was the way to go. And of course, this was really the ultimate time of Monsoon and Heenan together. This is the last time you really saw it.
Yeah.
And it was an outstanding, almost like Three Stooges routine,
Yeah, it's good stuff. Go back and watch it if you haven't, folks. It's pretty good. Oh, man. Hey, Jeremy, I'm going to go off script real quickly here. We're talking about Heenan being a manager, and we're in between number 7 and number 6 here. Real quickly before we go to the next one, I just want to bring this up. I meant to earlier. I don't even know if we have to. If we don't, we won't. But I know you used to watch Bobby Heenan early on in the AWA. Is there anyone that, if we mention someone's name, is there anyone he didn't manage, or all the top stars he did manage? I know you mentioned Bockwinkel and Stevens, and that was to me, I started off right there. And then, of course, he mentioned several more in his Hall of Fame speech we'll get to eventually, not to give anything away. But can you think of anyone he did manage or someone special that he did manage, since we are talking about his managing?
Well, because I'm trying to think here, because, if they were a villain in the AWA, if they were a top-tier villain, he managed them.
Yeah.
Bockwinkel, Stevens, the Blackjacks, Blackjack Lanza especially, he got over. You know what? Let me do a quick look here. Heenan family, because there are guys that you forget.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to put you on a spot or anything. I just wanted to make mention. I know with the Bockwinkel and Stevens, that trio right there, man, my goodness, But he's mentioned the Brainbusters, man. When he come out, then we mentioned Flair earlier. Some of those guys that went over from NWA or WCW at the time to come over. When Tully and Arn went over, they come out the Brainbusters. I mean, they're coming off that big 4 horseman run, and they go right there with Bobby the Brain Heenan, and they're the Brain Busters. And that's, it's just over. And then you got the WCW World Heavyweight Champion Flair coming over, and who they put him with. I mean, I think that speaks volumes for your top management to say he's the number one manager of all time, because I'm sure you can come up with a few more people we haven't discussed as to who he did manage. But, when you got guys that come from another organization that was over like a motherfucker on fire, the Horsemen come over, Tully and Arn do of the Horsemen, and they put him with Bobby Heenan. Bobby the Brain Heenan. And the same thing of Flair. Here's the world's, real world heavyweight champion. And who you put him with, you put him with the best manager in the game, Bobby the Brain Heenan. I mean, I think that's what I was kind of trying to make sure we put that out there. Oh, yeah. I know people that listen to this show are actually wrestling fans, and they know what I'm trying to say. But I didn't want to leave one off, because there's probably so many more people that I haven't mentioned that he did manage.
Well, let me try to hit some of these real quick. All right. So when he transitioned from the AWA to Georgia Championship Wrestling, he formed the second version of the Heenan family. Blackjack Lanza remained with him. The Masked Superstar, Killer Carl Cox, Toru Tanaka, and Ernie Ladd were all in there. So that's fucking royalty, He returns to the AWA, reforms the original Heenan family with Bockwinkel, Super Destroyer Mark II, Ken Patera, and Mr. Saito.
Okay.
All right. And then I think the era we would all be most familiar with would be his WWF run.
Yeah.
Where, Heenan must have been one of the guys to recognize the coming greatness of Hulk Hogan, because he worked his ass off to keep Hogan over and try to put him in an underdog position his entire career. Let me see if I got a quick list here, though. Big John Studd, King Kong Bundy. Jesse Ventura was supposed to be his first person, but he was forced to retire due to his health problems.
Okay.
Patera came in and joined at that point. Buddy Rose came in. Adrian Adonis and Missing Link in 1985. Andre the Giant was the first target for Big John Studd, which was the body slam challenge, and the money being thrown to the crowd. But of course, eventually, when Andre did his heel turn, where'd he go? He went to the greatest in the world to have his back. He went to Bobby Heenan.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
joined
right.
that family. Let me see here.
And we just did heel turns on last week's episode, most shocking heel turns of all time. And that was a hell of a fun episode. And I hope a lot of people enjoyed us putting that out there, because we put some swerves in there, and we had a really good top 10. And I think our top 5 was especially good. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, that was one of them, though, was the Andre, when Andre turned. And then here he is with one of the biggest baby faces ever.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes to the biggest heel manager ever, so that's a good deal right there, bringing that up, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
but
so I just wanted to mention some guys he did manage there, man. That's a lot. I mean, there's probably a who's who, right? Like you've already mentioned so many guys.
Yeah. Well, I believe if you just hit him real quickly, a guy I thought never got over as big as he should was Hercules Hernandez. He was part of the Heenan family at one point.
Okay.
Now, I'm doing this from memory, so I could be wrong, but I believe when Rick Rude first came in, he was a Heenan family member as well.
I think you're right. I think you are right.
Yeah. So and Orndorff, Harley Race, he managed Harley Race.
Yes, Harley Race. Yep,
Haku, of course the Haku thing caused a problem for him later, but,
Yeah.
But there we go. There is a non-exhaustive, non-complete, barely scratched the surface list of Bobby Heenan's clients.
Well, since you mentioned, let's read number 5 if you don't care. I know we're number 6 is up there, but you mentioned about him getting hating on Hogan. Let's just move that one up if you don't care.
Yeah, okay.
Because you kind of mentioned that. This is from text. Nobody ever spewed more vile virtual into Hulkster's erection than the Brain. When Hogan finally did turn to NWO, Bobby's exclamations was, "I told you so," was brilliant, and it was funny. And he loved working with Hogan because the checks were bigger. And so you mentioned that earlier. He must have caught on early when he was there. Like, he knew that's where the money was. Like, if I get on this right now and just make sure I bury him. But by burying him, getting him over, that was one of the things. Tex had it as number 5. We just kind of moved it up to number 6 because that's kind of the flow of the show there. So go ahead and add on that if you don't care how that all
absolutely.
worked out.
Well, because this dates back to the AWA. A lot of younger people may not realize that Hulkamania was something that Vern Gagne inadvertently created and then refused to take advantage of. And like you've often said, it came down to a t-shirt deal, basically, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. So Hogan was challenging Bockwinkel for the title, and on 2, maybe 3 occasions, he would win it, and Stanley Blackburn would come out and take it away.
I know you brought that up before. I love that when you tell me that.
Yeah.
Vern just kind of found a way to keep getting that title off Hogan.
Yep, that was the thing. And so, and Vern was trying to, he was trying to set it up to go in that direction, but Vern did not like to change directions, and he did not like unknowns. So Vern, I think Vern went as far as trying to pimp one of his daughters to Hogan at one point, thinking, well, if he marries her, then, then we got it going forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heenan, it also, when Hogan did finally go heel, it made Heenan look like a genius. It made him look like, I told you all along. I told you he was a no-good Nick. And what was awesome about that was Heenan still hated on Hogan, but did not switch to being a face except when Hogan was on screen.
Yeah.
It was that kind of weird tweener kind of thing that still worked out perfectly.
Yep. because he knew how to get over.
Yes, he did. That's the thing.
One of the other things he got over there, we skipped down there and we'll put this in number 5, I guess, and that was the Bobby Heenan show, where he parlayed his popularity to his own version of The Tonight Show with Lord Alfred Hayes and the Ed McMahon role. Some of those things were hilarious. I watched a couple of those clips the other day, too. See, that's the other thing. Last week, I only had like one day to get ready. It seemed like we kept kicking something else around, which we're still working on, folks. We mentioned last week we've got some good stuff coming on future podcasts, but this week I had a little more time to prepare. By preparing, I had some things off memory, some personal memories that I've shared with you, but also I got to go and watch some YouTube clips and just sit there and be entertained, if you will, by some of the antics of Bobby the Brain Heenan. I watched one of him and Gorilla when he was talking about his work ethic. That was hilarious. Just the way he would sell. He could sell with his facial expression and get heat. It was just enjoyable to finally, when you got a topic, and it's not that I haven't liked any topic. I've loved them all, but when you have that extra time to say, oh, you know what? Let me actually, there's a shitload of footage out there of Bobby the Brain that I just cracked up at, man. And so anyway, I watched a couple of clips of his own version of the, quote, Tonight Show with Lord Alfred Hayes. And some of those faces Alfred Hayes would make at him, oh, my goodness, that was hilarious. So
yeah,
anyway.
That was part of the WWF Primetime show, right? Was that?
Yes. That's back. I think they were on USA Network back then. It was, well,
yeah, because
Prime,
because Vince McMahon had just taken that time slot from Joe Blanchard.
Oh, yeah, you brought that up before.
Yeah.
He wanted to slip. He kept slipping his guys in. He was going to put his footage from the other buildings and stuff. Finally, he just got the time spot, right?
I believe that's how that worked out, yeah. Because that is something I just discovered. I didn't know that Joe Blanchard's show was the first one on USA. And then things started to click in my head when I realized that.
Yeah. And you said that was on Prime spot. Speaking of Prime, Jeremy, we got to get a plug out there for one of our affiliates. Again, guys, anything we push in this program, it just helps put a little bit of cash back into the program and helps us bring some great content. And if you go to tinyurl.com/BB try Prime, you can try Amazon Prime for 30 days free. It won't cost you a dime. You can cancel it anytime you want. But I have a feeling you probably won't, because I love my Prime, and I know the professor does too. Professor, tell us about Amazon Prime and some of the benefits you have from being an Amazon Prime enrollee, if you will.
Well, so you get this you get this free for 30 days to try it out, which means that you get their quick shipping. In most markets, it's still 2 days, but in some areas, they've got it down to like same day delivery for some things. You get access to their video and their music library. I believe you can actually get their Kindle Unlimited program a little bit cheaper if you're already a Prime member as well. So you get access to all sorts of content. And Bobby, one of the things, I'm going to have to figure out a way to get a list of it together. There is a ton of wrestling content included under Amazon Prime now.
Yeah, I have to find that. I haven't been looking. I've been watching older movies, streaming those. That's what I've enjoyed doing, of course. I haven't purchased anything recently, but the last 2 times I purchased something, I've got like next day shipping. Even though it said 2 days, I got it the next day. I'm real happy with my Prime. I just save on shipping, and I watched movies, and I know they got some original series. I know there's a couple getting ready to third season of one. What is it? The Marvelous.
Miss Maisel.
That's going to be coming out in third season of that. Man, if you haven't watched the first 2 of those, and I know you and I both have, we talked about the Lenny Bruce character on there. I know you've got a favorite show, the
Corner Gas.
That pops up in mine sometimes. I only watched one episode. I haven't watched beyond that. I keep telling myself I'm going to. But, and also, like I said, for me, the main thing is the movies and the free shipping. I don't even take advantage of the music I have. I listen to Pandora a lot more than anything.
Sure.
But I know it's available. I know it's available because my granddaughter, when she comes over, she listens to some of the Prime music. So I just don't. I have a preference on that, but I do like it. I know it's available. Millions of songs, millions.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've got hard drives full of music that I've acquired over the years. CDs that I ripped back in the old days, digital files that I've bought, yada yada yada. But, it's still easier just for me when I jump in the car, if I want to hear a specific song, just to load Amazon Music.
Yeah.
Cause it's going to be on there. And the other thing I like is that it's just, I've got an Alexa, so I can stream music over that. I've got a Roku on both, I've got a Roku TV in the bedroom, and then I've got a Samsung Smart TV. They both have Amazon Music apps built right into them.
Right
So,
on.
yeah. So for me, it's a super easy transition, you know.
Well, you can help the program by going to tinyurl.com/BB Tri Prime. We'd appreciate it very much. And I think you'll enjoy it very much if you're out there listening. Give it a try.
Absolutely.
And I think that's going to take us to number 4. Yeah, we're at number 4. And this one here, I went back and watched it. I watched it twice. And I could have put this at number 1, really. I think we had it at number 9 originally. I said, Jeremy, we got to move this up, man. So we looked at the top 3 and we said, well, let's put it here at number 4. And that is Bobby the Brain Heenan was inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame in 2004. And if there's any Hall of Fames out there, Bobby the Brain Heenan needs to be in all of them, not just the WWE one, because I'm sure everyone that's listening to that says the same thing. Bobby the Brain is a legitimate Hall of Famer. So number 4 was the WWE Hall of Fame speech. It's funny, it's engaging, it's entertaining, it's everything you want a speech to be, man. He just rips and rolls and rocks and rolls and riffs and talks to a couple of guys he manages out there. He points out Harley Race, a superstar Graham. He talks to Slaughter there. He talks about when he first came there, they had 3 free birds, and they had bulldogs, and it had a snake, and it had this, and he said, and I'm going to weasel with a gorilla, and man, it's just so funny to hear his speech. Obviously, I can't do any of his voices or anything because he's the greatest talker of all time, but what do you think about that being number 4? Because it could have been number 1 in my opinion, but we're going to keep it at 4. If you love Bobby the Brain Heenan, go back and watch the WWE Hall of Fame speech. It's available on YouTube, and I'm sure it's available on the network and everywhere else. So
yeah, I was going to say that you have to see it, but I can't do it justice without.
I can't either.
Yeah, you just need to go watch it. I would like to talk about it more, but he does have a few moments where he gets a little bit sad because Gorilla Monsoon had just passed away the year before. Mm-hmm. But he does. I mean, he's up to his regular antics. He's funny. He's quick-witted. Yeah. He's got a lot of great, quick jabs and barbs to throw out there. It is a hell of a speech, and I believe you just say Bobby Heenan Hall of Fame, and you're going to get 50 links on YouTube, I'm sure.
Yeah. And the other thing too that I don't realize sometimes, and I know you do, you understand the importance of it. I understand the importance of it. I just don't have it that much, and that is his timing, that sense of a pause when you're supposed to pause. His sense of timing when he's speaking and telling a joke or being witty, those come across as well too. And if you're like Jeremy or myself in communications and talking, that's so important. I know I miss it sometimes, but I can't do it justice by saying, he's a weasel with a gorilla. If you watch that, just go and watch it. Just go to one of the links there and watch it. I'm telling you, you'll be very glad you did. But just listen to his sense of timing as well as, his wit and his sarcasm and just the entertainment value that he puts forth on just that speech. And you'll say, I've got to go watch more stuff. I'm telling you, if you're not a Bobby the Brain Heenan fan, watch that Hall of Fame speech, and you will be, and you'll go back and start watching some more of his older stuff too. So let's leave number 4 right there, the Hall of Fame speech.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now this one here, number 3, I was like, maybe we don't put this one at number 3, we put it at 4. But again, when you get down on our top 10 list, you start mixing things up. Any of these things could have easily made the top 3 or 4, and we know that. And Jeremy said, no, Bobby, I remember it way back when, and that is what, Professor?
Well, that would be the Weasel suit.
Yes.
As I remember it, it started in the AWA with Greg Gagne getting him in the ring in the Weasel suit. And Bobby Heenan could bump and take an ass whipping as well as anybody I've ever seen.
Oh man, he could. He had some tremendous bumps, man. He was a bump machine early in his career, and throughout he was still working way up there. He's still taking bumps, out there as a manager. So yeah.
Well, I remember
he started off as a wrestler. What I was getting at, even as a manager, he proceeded to continue to take bumps. What I was getting at, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he the ways I've seen him take a spill over the top rope to the outside. One time I believe he got hurt because he had a belt around his neck when it happened. But, he'd take those falls from over the top rope, inside the ring, over the top rope to the floor.
Yeah.
And it just looked brutal, and he could flip and flop like his back had just been broken. I mean, it looked better than anything. Then you add the humiliation of the Weasel suit.
Yeah. The Weasel suit.
Yeah. There's
top 3.
Yeah. There is a thing, but I remember it from the AWA and the WWF redid it later. But there is a thing that wrestling used to be better at than I think it is now, and that was driving its crowd's reaction. You know, the weasel thing started by Bobby Heenan. Somebody called him a weasel, and Bobby Heenan goes, no, don't call me a weasel, and the fans jump on it, you know.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't say the word weasel when this guy comes out here, you know, and then here they introduce, you know, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and all of a sudden the people's, they're already been queued up, you know, don't say weasel when he's out here. Don't call me a weasel if he's the one saying it, you know.
Yeah.
And that automatically, that reaction, I agree with you. That's, I think it is something that is missing. You've got to have that crowd interaction. I don't like, you know, when you see someone in a ring and people are sitting with their thumbs up their ass, and someone's, you know, when you're going back and forth with someone from the ring or from the microphone, the podium, if you will, you got to have that live interaction, man. I think some of that misses today because you're out there just doing this promo or this interview. But like you said, he heard that. He plays off of it. Next thing you know, whatever you do, don't chant it. And everyone in the fucking building is chanting weasel, weasel, you know, and he's talking about what a great brain he is, you know, and put himself over. And it's just a special person. He's getting heat from one side, knowing he's getting over on the other, you know, it's great. So.
And he could do it better than anybody. But yeah, the weasel thing, the weasel suit, you know, because you just look, the guy was a fucking weasel. I mean, that's, you know.
Weasel, manager of champions, by God.
Oh yeah. But you know, you'd watch him do the thing where he'd run his mouth. Rick Rude was good at this too when he was in Memphis. You run your mouth and the guy comes out, oh no, I'd never say.
Funny, yes, that was funny in Memphis when Rick Rude did it. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
All right, you want to fill us in here real quick, one of our affiliates, and we'll keep on going?
Well, you know what, Bobby, let's talk about this real quick. You and I run a couple gigs on Fiverr.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us real quick about what you do on there?
Okay, on Fiverr, what I do is I take your tweet. If you've got something you want to market at an event, especially a wrestling event. Right now, I'm doing a lot with other podcasts, because I love podcasts. I enjoy them. So what I do is I take for $5 is all it is. That's why it's called Fiverr. And I take a tweet and I'll put it out there 2 to 3 times a day for 2 to 3 days, depending on which package you buy. And basically, I'll put some keyword hashtag with your tweet. I'll try to beef it up some for you if you need help writing a good tweet. Just depends on what you need, but usually it's $5, and usually you're getting 6 tweets for that $5 over a 2 to 3 day period, depending on, you know, if I put them out 2 for 2 days or 2 for 3 days or 3 for 2 days. And that's what I do on Fiverr. And I've been promoting several podcasts besides our own through my Fiverr account. And I've got a couple other gigs on there, but that's my main one. I do help you try to gain more followers. I got a little gig that does that, but mostly right now I'm trying to just tweet out other people's podcasts, other people's events, whether it be wrestling event or even a business affiliate for, you know, some other, you know, someone that needs something. Just, I need to get noticed quick, Bobby. What can you do for me? And I'll take their tweet, I'll doctor it up, I'll edit it if I have to. I'll put their link on there. I'll put their advertise. Usually I'll put their Instagram, their Facebook, their website link, and their Twitter account, whatever I can do to help beef up and get them some publicity off of that Fiverr account, off the Twitter. That's what I do.
Yeah. You know, and then you have a lot of Twitter followers, so you get a lot of eyeballs on anything you tweet. That's kind of cool. For me, I'm doing voiceovers, and then I'm going to add a new thing here pretty soon where I will mix and master your podcast for $5.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Now, if you need an intro, an outro, whatever, I'll have an upgrade for that. And if you want it edited, which, Bobby, I know you know how much I actually hate sitting and editing a show.
Yeah. But the voiceover work, you listen to Jeremy every week on his program, and I purchased a Fiverr service through Jeremy. I didn't ask him, hey, do this for me as a pal, as a buddy, whatever. I wanted to help Jeremy out as a friend and as a co-host, and also help his business at Fiverr, so I could get on there and get I got a product from him. He did a 30-second commercial to advertise one of my books, and I've yet to put that out there. I've got it downloaded just the other day onto my computer and stuff, but I want to do it because I wanted to leave Jeremy a review and help him get his business out there. And all I did is I went to Fiverr. But now, Jeremy, there's another way you can do this. You can go to fiverr.com/Jeremy Vilmer, and you'll find Jeremy. That's all you have to do, and he has tremendous voice work, as you hear every week on this program.
That's right. And also, you can get to Bobby by going to fiverr.com/BobbyBlaze744.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that.
Those are the direct ways to reach us on Fiverr. If you have another project you're doing and you want to go and look and see if somebody, can fill some need, whether it's graphics or whatever you're looking for, there's lots of talented people on there. You can go to tinyurl.com/bbfiverr with only one R because I forgot to spell it correctly. But that'll take you to our affiliate page, and then if you end up buying something, you do help the show out by us getting a little cash contribution for, you coming through that link. So if you're going to do it and you don't mind, please use that link. It won't cost you anything extra. It just helps the show out a little bit.
Yep. Appreciate that. All right. Well, we're down to our top two. I know we're just about right on time for our podcast, as we like to keep it at this particular time. Number 2, riffing off Monsoon, the Abbott and Costello Wrestling. As from text, their banner was pure gold, and obvious affection between the two came through no matter what they were saying to each other. And man, I don't know, that was pure gold right there when them two playing off each other like that. That was just anyway. That's number 2.
Okay, so they had. God, I'm going to use such a dated reference. And Bobby, you know me, I love old comedy stuff, But they were the Martin and Lewis of their time.
Yeah.
They were one of the greatest comedic duos of the recent time. And look, there's not a lot of comedic duos anymore, so it's not something you really see.
Yeah.
But the two of them together, their timing, their way of playing off of each other, and you and I get a little bit of this because we don't practice our bits a lot ahead of time. Shit, a lot of times we don't even know we're going to do them until you and I roll into a bit and it starts.
I know.
Yeah, like the coconut. Nobody knew that was coming. But they would just roll into a spot and they would just go over it, and they knew each other so well and they had each other's timing down so well that they could just play off of it. Stuff you kind of have to see to really appreciate it, but I'm just going to name a couple things real quick. Bobby would yell at assistants over the phone or, just off screen. He would do this sometimes at the table when calling a match, other times like on prime time. He had an assistant, I don't remember her name. But one time, Gorilla fucking sabotaged his phone, tore the mouthpiece out of it. And so Bobby's just strung up the whole rest of the bit because he can't get anything done without the phone. So Gorilla goes and gets him a phone, and it's a banana phone. They go and get hot dogs together.
I saw that bit. That was funny. I went to get the hot dogs, and the Gorilla, he puts the hot sauce on there.
Yeah.
And orders 2 of them. He makes him 2 of them for Bobby. Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
But they used to do all sorts of stuff. Wandering around Caesar's Palace, getting lost in the woods. Bobby trying to get credit at a casino, I think, was one of them. Yeah, it's good stuff. It was just great stuff.
Oh yeah, I saw him at the big hotel too, and Gorilla's announcing the hotel they're at in Vegas, whatever, or maybe it's actually Beverly Hills. And anyway, Bobby's like, no, go back, do it again. Tell them you're at my home. You're at poolside of my lavish home here in Beverly Hills. So wherever they was at, he wanted them to kayfabe it like, no, you're in my backyard at my pool at my luxury mansion here or whatever.
Yeah.
They went out on a yacht together. Some of those bits, man, are just hilarious to see them. And of course, the not to take anything from the wrestling, why the guys are in the ring wrestling, man, just to riff off each other like that is just like you said, man, the Lewis and Martin, wow, good rep.
Well, and one of the things
said Abbott Costello, so hell.
One of the things that I remember, and I can't remember where it was from or quite how it went, it must have been Prime Time or one of those shows, but based off that format. But it comes in and Gorilla introduces himself in the show, and then Bobby Heenan just looks at the camera and goes, "And I'm Bobby Heenan, your host."
And that's probably the best thing to say for number 1, Jeremy, right there. Getting himself over at no one's expense. And what we said is, that was what Tex put in big letters. But when we talked about, very briefly, I said, no matter what you say, number 1's probably going to be is, what, Jeremy? He's just Bobby the Brain
Bobby Heenan, yeah.
He's Bobby Heenan, man. Commentator, manager, wrestler, the angles he got himself involved in. He's just Bobby Heenan. Him coming through one of the WrestleManias that was out at Caesar's Palace. He's riding a camel backwards. mean, just calling someone a ham and egger, saying, Bobby Smedley, how would you like to go through your life how'd you like to go through life with that moniker? I mean, just that's Bobby Heenan, man. And I'll tell you, because you said early on, I'm so glad you did, man. And his sense of fashion, man, is that's just Bobby the Brain Heenan, man.
Oh, yeah.
He's the greatest wrestling manager of all time.
Most of our egos could not handle the amount of ridicule and harassment and, putting yourself up to be embarrassed that way. And he did it. He was smiling all the way to the bank afterwards.
Oh, yeah. That's for sure, man. So that's our number one reason, because he is Bobby Heenan. That's why we love him. Probably the most over guy you love to hate back in the day. He's just over all around. We talked about his bumps. We talked about everything. I don't know if we left something out. It wasn't intentional. I can assure you of that. All I can say is I hope you enjoyed this top 10, but I bet you could sit here and I bet you could think of 50 reasons why you love Bobby the Brain Heenan, and you will go on YouTube or whatever your source of entertainment is to find wrestling. Go in there and look up some Bobby the Brain clips, because you will crack up. It'll bring a smile to your face even on your saddest day. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, take the time to go and look some of this stuff up, because it's definitely worth seeing. Go back, if you only knew him from WCW or WWF, go back and find some of his interviews when he was with Bockwinkel and Stevens.
Yeah,
because he could piss off a crowd in those days. He wasn't quite funny Bobby Heenan yet. He was just mean and shitty Bobby Heenan at that point. And then you put that in combination with Bockwinkel trying to make everybody feel stupid, and it was just pure. That's a master class in getting heat.
Yeah,
it really.
And I'm going to say this. I got it from ProWrestlingStories.com, and that was Nick Bockwinkel saying that Bobby the Brain Heenan was the greatest worker of all time, because he understood every aspect of wrestling, managing, and get ready, Jeremy, entertainment. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to say that, man. If all these other people say it, you've got to agree, folks. The number one all-time manager of all time was Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Jim Cornette says it. Bobby says it. I say it. Nick Bockwinkel, come on. That's, and Bobby, if you want to do your wrap up, I'm going to read a list real quick of everybody I just found that was listed as a client of Bobby Heenan, and then we'll sign off.
Oh, that sounds good. Okay, well, real briefly, you know what I'm going to say, man. I always start off saying something fun, try to have some fun with the program. But when I close out, I always just try to tell people, look, man, I appreciate all the fans that listen to the program. I appreciate the people that follow the podcast. I appreciate the people that follow the YouTube channel. Follow Jeremy at the Geekish Cast on Twitter. Follow me at Bobby Blaze 744 on Twitter, or the joint account at Bell to Bell Blaze on Twitter. But I always say this, and I say it because I mean it. People, take care of each other out there. Show some kindness. Show some love, man. There's too much other bullshit going in the world. Just take some time. Show yourself some love. Show yourself some kindness. Show yourself some forgiveness. Sometimes we judge ourselves way too harsh. I know I do. But you know what? Take care of each other. And that's really what I want to say, Jeremy, is I'm glad you're friends with me. I'm glad we got this podcast together. I'm glad the fans listen. And all you fans listening, please just take care of each other out there and be kind to each other. That's all I can tell you.
So I'm going to hit this list real quick. In the AWA, Blackjack Lanza, Blackjack Mulligan, Bobby Duncombe, Ken Patera, Mr. Saito, Nick Bockwinkel, Ray Stevens, Stan Hansen, Super Destroyer Mark II, Georgia Championship, Austin Idols, Blackjack Lanza, Bobby Jaggers, Ernie Ladd, Carl Cox, Mass Superstar, Toro Tanaka, Ron Bass, WWA, Angelo Poffo, Baron Von Raschke, Chris Markoff, Jamie Valiant, Johnny Valiant. How did we forget that? WWF, Adrian Adonis, Andre the Giant, the Barbarian, Big John Studd, the Brainbusters, Buddy Rose, the Brooklyn Brawler, the Colossal Connection, which was Andre and Haku, Harley Race, Hercules Hernandez, the Islanders, Haku and Tama, Ken Patera, King Kong Bundy, the Missing Link, Mr. Perfect. How did we miss that? Paul Orndorff. Oh God. Terry Taylor, because I'm not going to call him this other name.
Yeah.
Ric Flair, Rick Rude, C.V. Offee. That is the only name there that does not jump out at me. That is the only one.
Okay.
And there you go.
Impressive list.
That was a great one. All right, everybody. Well, it has been our pleasure to have you, and it has been your pleasure to listen to Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. Have a good time out there, you ham and eggers.